So, good evening, everybody. I am Dipanjan Ghosh. Today, I want to discuss about the plant fertilization process. So, what is the meaning of fertilization in plant? Now, fertilization means it is the union or fusions of the nuclei of male and female gametes. Male and female gametes, whenever there is a union or fusions of male and female gametes occur, then it will be denoted as fertilization. And we know basically in plant fertilization, pollen grain is very essential. Mature pollen grain contain assay which is covered by double say y, double y, and it is outermost portions is outer y called the exine and the inner y called the intine. And its nucleus, we know its nucleus has already divided into two parts. One is tube nucleus and another is the generative nucleus, which is called the main nucleus. So I mentioned about pollen grain. Pollen grain is a cell which is covered by two y. Its outer y called the exine and the inner y called the intine, and its nucleus have been divided into two nucleus. One is the tube nucleus and other is the generative or main nucleus. And we know at this stage what happened, that pollen grain is actually transferred to the stigma, and whenever it is transferred to the stigma, then the pollination process is actually perform or proceed, and the changes, after further changes in pollen grain is occur only if it has fallen on stigma of a plant of the same species. So we have seen in case of flowering plants, what have we seen? The pollen grain produces two male gametes. The pollen grain produces two male gametes, and the ovule inside the ovary produces the female gamete. So basically, pollen grains contain produces the two male gametes. And if we come to the aspect of ovary, then we see come to the aspect of the ovule, then we see that ovule is the inner part of the ovary. Ovule is the inner part of the ovary, and ovule is destined to become the seed, whereas the ovary is destined to become the fruit. And we know basically if we go to the structure, then we see, if we look forward towards the structure of embryo sac, then we see it contains 7 cells, and that 7 cells is actually classified 3 plus 1. So 3 says, if we see the structure of a germinations of pollen fertilizations, if we see how do the germinations of pollen and fertilization, how do the fertilization processes actually occur, if we see, then we see that in embryo sac, 3 cells remain to the micropoia end. If we see the micropoia end, then we see there is 1 egg cell and 2 synergids. 3 cells are to the opposite end, that is called the antipodi cell, and 1 yard cell remain to the centri portions, which is called the centri cell. So this is about the structure of embryo sac. It contains 7 cells, and how do the several cells remain arrangement to the micropoia end, to the opposite end, and to the central portions. And if we see the germinations of pollen grain, then we see the germination, that is the pollen grain germinates only if it falls on the stigma of the same parent species. Foil on the stigma of the same parent species. And whenever the pollen grain is actually fall on the stigma, it stimulate the germination process, and due to secretions of sugars by the stigma. So due to secretions, so the pollen grain on falling on the stigma is stimulated to germinate due to the secretions of the sugar by the stigma. And if we just look forward the structure of pollen grain, then we see it contain the exine part, already I had mentioned, and and we know uh, through a through a point in the exine, a pollen tube grows out of the pollen grain and carrying as it steeps the generative nucleus and the tube nucleus. If we look at the structure, then we see that it contain the pollen grain contain the pollen tube. One portion contain the pollen tube, and the next one is the tube nucleus. Uh, and generative nucleus, basically already I have mentioned that generative nucleus is the main nucleus and divides into two sperm nuclei, which is called the male gamete nuclei. Thus, in a germinating pollen grain, there are three nuclei which are not separated by cell-wise. That is, they share a common cytoplasm. And if we see, then we can find out that the pollen tube enters into the synergids, and it releases its two sperm nuclei. In case of double fertilization, if we see one within two sperm nuclei, one fertilizes the egg cell nucleus and form the zygote, and we know why the other sperm nucleus moves towards the two pollen nuclei in the center cell and fuses with them. Thus, three nuclei fuse together, and altogether two fertilizations have occurred, and hence the whole process is termed as double fertilization. So the two male gametes, within two male gametes, one gamete is actually fertilize the female gamete. So that's why it is that is one fertilization, and another we fertilized two ends, so it will form the three end. So as there is the fertilizations will occur in two way, that is that's why it is called the double fertilization process. Thank you.